Welcome to the Evolve Summit. And tonight I'm here with Michelle Goodman, and she's going to be talking about from invisible to inevitable, building signal in a noisy AI world. Welcome, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle. How are
How
you
are you?
today?
I am good. I'm
Yeah, excited to
excited.
be here. I lost your sound.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay. Anyway,
A little
yeah.
technical difficulty, but yes, we're ready to go when you are.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. And if you're joining us, feel free to put questions in the chat and we'll stop at various parts and answer your questions. But I'm really excited tonight to really talk about something that's kind of gone under the radar. It has been quietly talked about. Maybe you're feeling it more than you've heard about it. And that's visibility, AI visibility, and also, how that relates to the traffic we're getting and attention and all the things. So I am excited to be here. And just a little bit quick about me. I am a coach for heart-centered entrepreneur, and the last year I have spent really diving deep into what does it mean to be visible in the AI era, because it's shifted, and we'll talk about that tonight. So hopefully you're ready for some fun. Hopefully you know some of these things, but if you don't, then this is a great opportunity for you to discover where AI is moving in the marketplace and how you can actually step into a blue ocean that's existing right now, especially for us as heart-centered entrepreneurs. So with that, let me share my
I know
screen.
I'm ready.
You're ready?
Yeah,
I'm ready. Like, it's so fun.
it does.
All right. Let me know if you can see that okay.
Yep, I can see it good.
Excellent. So, what I want to talk about tonight is how to go from invisible to inevitable and what that looks like in the AI world that we're in now. It's quick, it's expanding rapidly, and things are shifting at a very high pace, probably higher than we've ever seen before in any of the changes that have taken place in the internet and in the world. It's setting new precedents in that realm. And for us as heart-centered entrepreneurs, or purpose-driven businesses, maybe you're people that are focused on impact, and maybe not. Maybe you're just out there selling a commodity and that's your thing. Doesn't matter any of that. What happens is we're silently becoming invisible, and part of that is due to a shift in the way the whole market works. We're shifting in this area from attention-based architecture to a new paradigm. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight, and how you as heart-centered entrepreneurs, or as people that are in this group, because most of you are heart-centered entrepreneurs, but if you're just really starting to feel the effects of not being visible, a lot of people are starting to feel it now, then this is for you. This is what we're diving into. And so maybe this is you. Maybe you're showing up every day. You're creating, you're posting, you are really putting effort in to do all the things that they told you, post, show up, answer questions, provide value, all these things. And yet you might feel like your voice is being drowned in the noise, or it's, just like screaming into the void. You don't know if you're getting attention. You don't know if people are seeing your posts. And it's gotten even worse now that people are using AI for content, and the platform algorithms are shifting and using AI as well. So it's noisier than ever. And there's a bigger trust deficit online than ever. People are looking for, is this a real human on the other side? I laugh about this, but, not more than a year ago, people were looking at content on the internet and they were going, is this AI? And
Mhm.
now we're faced with a situation where the whole thing has been turned upside down. And now AI is looking at us and going, is this a human? How do you tell if this is a real deal thing? How do I know if I can serve you up, if you're an authority or you're not an authority, if you're even real, right? Because we're looking at spaces where people are being cloned and people are creating content about other people, and we don't even know sometimes where that's coming from. So this is the world that we live in now. It's the water we're swimming in. And so how can we take advantage of that and really leverage it for our business and for us personally, right? So the key thing that's disconnecting, in the past, attention was the way you got noticed. It's also the way that you would generate traffic for your business. It was also the way that that traffic would turn into conversion. A lot of it was attention based or influencer based or, following viral trends and things like that. And that has shifted now. And so right now you might notice that, your best stuff might not even get any attention, or your content that's kind of like just lighthearted and shallow. Maybe that's the stuff that spreads the fastest, but it's not driving conversion, or it's not getting people to really take movement on that content. So, and your message might have been changing. Like maybe on Facebook, you're showing up one way, or on LinkedIn, you're showing up on another way. That kind of stuff worked in the past and still works to some extent because there's always people that are doing new things and getting attention. But attention right now does not necessarily mean conversion. It does not necessarily mean that you're going to get traffic. It just means attention. And a lot of times that's in bursts. And so, you might have attention and then it's crickets after that. So right now we're seeing this shifting in the world, and people are going like, what happened to my traffic? Maybe you have a website, maybe it was getting traffic and now nothing, right? Or you're posting on Facebook, or you're posting on one of the platforms where you had reach and people were responding, you had friends, you were talking to them, and now all of a sudden, like, you're not getting the interaction, you're not getting the hearts, the likes, you're rarely getting comments, even things that would have, even a couple months ago driven more comments. That's not happening. And part of that is because slowly we're becoming invisible in the search. And that's due to AI, because think about it now. How many of you actually go to ChatGPT, and instead of going to Google and putting in your keywords and searching, you ask Chat like, hey, how do I, or who is the best, or what does this? And Chat gives you the answer. And that's part of the shift, is that now instead of us doing the research, we're starting to rely more and more on AI to tell us and believe what it says to be the thing. So how do you get to be the person or the business that AI is bringing up and recommending? And that's where we're shifting from attention to infrastructure. Because if your signal is scattered, if your message is different on all the platforms, if you can't be seen by AI because you're on platforms that aren't even visible, then how does it get to know who you are, how to classify you, and how to serve up the information? So this is a big deal, right? We're in a major paradigm shift. We're shifting from an attention economy where you're renting attention on other platforms like Facebook or Instagram, where you're having temporary bursts by things maybe going viral. A lot of us that are heart centered, we feel like this is, it's icky. It's because it's more performance based. You feel like you have to show up in a certain way. You have to compete with the other noise and other people out there that are performing. You're chasing algorithms, right? The algorithm changes on a regular basis. What used to drive attention and traffic now isn't giving us the reach. There's a lot more noise out there. There's people that are creating content with AI, and it can be easily done. You see ads all the time for people like, how I can teach you how to create your content that sounds like you. Yeah, all of that is noise if it's not providing anything genuinely new. So we've got a lot of content, a lot of noise, less trust, algorithms shifting, performance-based marketing is disappearing, and everything's shifting to entity authority. Now, what's an entity? I'm an entity. You're an entity. Your business is an entity. Your frameworks are an entity. The way the knowledge graph starts to understand who we are and how to classify us is how it starts to understand our entity and the relationship of our entity to other entities. And so that brings us to where we are right now, where the economy is shifting from strictly attention to infrastructure, because AI reads what we do differently, right? And there's a lot more people out there, a lot more noise. So the rules of visibility, what used to be attention based, are now designed for AI to be able to extract who you are so it knows whether it can share you or not. And you can be working hard. You can have the best content in the world. You can be a dedicated, powerful, transformational person or business. But if AI can't understand you, you are still invisible because it's not looking at the same things that we were before. So, Michelle, you and I have talked about this a lot, right?
Yes, we
What that
have.
means, that shift is like, we're showing up, we're doing the work. It's not that we're not
Yes.
doing the work. In fact, I think many of us are probably doing the work to the point of exhaustion. You probably see that, you feel it,
Yes, I
I
have.
feel it.
I felt it. Yes.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. It can get
Mhm.
us burnt out. And so, this shift that we're experiencing right now is actually a really good thing for us because it's much more aligned with what we feel is authentically how we want to show up anyway. So this is pretty exciting, right? All the
It's
things.
very, yes.
So let's talk about how AI sees you, right? Because AI doesn't scroll. It's not reading your posts. It's not reading your narratives. It's not looking at your web pages and reading them like a human would read them. It actually looks at your stuff and wants to extract, retrieve the information nuggets that are on that page. And one of the things that happens with AI is it chunks things. So, maybe you get lucky and it chunks your page in a great way, but maybe you don't, right? So if we are not creating content and structure so that AI can actually retrieve what's on the page, and there's parts to that, we'll talk about that, then we're not gonna be an answer for AI, right? We're not going to be in the running even. That doesn't even get us in the running, right? But then again, we have the human. So, the human is looking for that resonance, is looking for that connection, that authentic, relationship with what it's reading. It wants to be able to dive into the content, but not too much. It doesn't want too much, right? It wants to be able to dive in at its own level, and it's not looking to read like textbooks of stuff. So AI and human are both looking for more concise things and things like that. And now we're in a space where maybe some of us were creating content and narrative, or we were creating, really dense content. Neither one is probably going to read that because it's just too much. So, Michelle, like, how do you think about this when you're thinking about what you're creating? Do you think about like who's going to read this and like what how much of it are they going to read? Have you thought about that before? Because honestly, I did not before I
I
started
did
really
not
diving.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not something like we were work focused on value. We were focused on, our call to action, our
Yes.
hooks, our all
Yep.
the things, and those are still important because but you still need to capture the human in this process. But now we're not just talking about just the human. We're talking about a person and AI. And quite frankly, right now, if AI doesn't see you, probably the human won't either unless you're directly sending them to your webpage and they take the time to do that because we're all busy, we're all hustling, we're all doing lots of things. And so if you can have chat GPT serve up the answer, or you have to spend time going through 10 links, what are you going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to chat.
Oh my.
Right? Like that's a no-brainer in so many ways. Exactly. But we're in this weird space where we're still talking to humans, and we're still want to create deep relationships with the people, our avatars, our ideal clients, the people that are following us. So we have to have both. And none of us probably are thinking about both at the same time, right? We might be like designing our websites to look beautiful and, have lovely pictures. Well, AI could care less about that, right? But then on the AI side, if we're strictly talking to the computer, maybe the person doesn't resonate with it. So we have to figure out, how do we bring both things together, right? And so that is the challenge where we're at. And what does that look like so that you can actually even be considered to be the answer? And I know there's still a lot of talk out there right now about AI SEO and GEO and LEO and AEO. I mean, it's like old McDonald had a farm, EIEIO, right? Like you just don't know what EIEO you're
Right.
dealing with. And they're all still valid, and they're all still important, but they're not the full picture anymore. So, maybe your website is SEO optimized. That does not mean that you're going to be AI visible. And ranking number one in Google does not mean that AI is going to refer you. They're two separate pieces, and they're both doing things. But when you're talking about where we're moving, where are we moving to the future, and think about what AI, how quickly it's evolving, the next step is agents might be the ones that are interacting with your website. So if you're not visible to AI, you don't even get in the game, right? Like you're not even on the board. So this becomes really, really important as we move forward. So how do we do that? And I will tell you that my work is kind of bridging a new category. It's a new way to think about how you're building your business, in particular for heart-centered, purpose-driven, impact-focused organizations, entrepreneurs, and businesses. We need both, right? So I think about AI as heart plus AI, human plus machine. You still need all the pieces. So how do you do that? How do you grow a soul, not lose who you are, but still be able to scale, still be able to create attention, and do it in a way that is not exhausting, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but the thought of like posting 5 times a day, my whole body says no, hell no. It just says hell no.
I
Like,
agree. I
it
didn't
doesn't
sign
want to
up
be
for
there,
that.
right? And when we're coming from that space, it's
Mhm.
already putting us in a position where we constantly are going against what feels aligned for us. So I contend that this new structure where we're moving in AI is actually the perfect combination. Excuse me. It's more aligned with where we're going as heart-centered individuals because it shifts from attention and hustle to architecture and structure. It shifts from noise and trying to compete and yell louder than everybody else to clear signal, clarity, that kind of stuff. And that to me feels so much more better. So let's talk about that, what that can look like. But before we do, I do want to make a note of this. Like, AI without heart is noise. It becomes noise because there's nothing to ground it, to make it different from what everybody else out there is doing. And heart, those of us that are heart-centered entrepreneurs, you can give and give and give and give and give. But without structure, you can still be invisible, and you can still not get the results that you're looking for. So what we're trying to do is bring both things together in a way that feels better, joyful, regenerative instead of exhaustive. So that's kind of where we're going with this. So I don't know if we have any questions. Michelle, is there anybody that's jumped in that
Um,
had?
we have two guests, Ed and Vaishnavi. I hope I said that right.
Hey guys, welcome. We're talking about structure and all the things. So, growth without structural alignment destroys your signal. And I really want to take a minute to talk about this because it's counter to what we've been taught to do. A lot of us have been taught just show up, just post content, put value out there, test different hooks, test different things. And that looks like this tree on the left, a tree with a bunch of disconnected leaves. Now, how many of you know what it feels like in the fall when you have a bunch of disconnected leaves? What happens? They're blowing around everywhere. You can't capture them easily, right? Because they're loose, they're floating. The same thing happens with our content. And what's really important right now is, especially now, putting content out there without thinking about structure actually undoes authority for AI and probably for the humans too. Because, if you have to try and figure out what someone sells or what they talk about or how they serve, all the things, you're probably not going to spend a lot of time on that. And so that stuff is just kind of blowing in the wind, if you know what I mean. Versus where we're going when you think about architecture instead of attention, we're looking to create structure that makes sense, structure that tells AI, yeah, this person's an authority. They get this. They know what they're talking about. They've got a lot of content around a particular topic. That builds trust. It also builds authority. And for the human, it allows them to build know, like, and trust faster, right? Because if I can go on Michelle's website and I can see, oh my gosh, this is what she does, and she's really done a lot of work around this, I feel more confident that connecting with her and building a relationship with her is going to serve me. And I don't have to guess, like, is she the real deal? Is this all cloned content? No, because I'm going to be able to see the evidence of that. And that's what AI is looking for. It's looking for the evidence, right? It wants to know, who are you? How does it group you? What are you connected with? And who are you connected with? And unlike attention, AI is looking at all those things at once. It's looking at, do we have external authority? Are we connected internally? Do we have, like, does my Facebook profile match my Instagram profile, match whatever else I'm doing? If it's all disconnected, if it's all disorganized, and if it's different, AI is confused. And the way AI works is it's probability based. So its goal is to serve up the best content possible to match the intention of who's requesting the information, right? So if Michelle's requesting information from me and she's asking, who's the best coach for heart-centered entrepreneurship? And my content on one page says, I'm a cybersecurity guru. And on the other page says, oh, I like to make macaroni and cheese. This was a strategy not that long ago, guys, where you would have different things that you would talk about. Now that actually confuses AI. It makes you less likely to be the answer because AI is like, I don't know, maybe this person knows what they're talking about. But then there's the mac and cheese thing. Like, I don't know how that relates to cybersecurity. It just doesn't match, right? So if there's a question in its mind, there's probably a question in the human's mind, and you're not going to be able to be the answer served up. So I don't know if this makes sense, guys, but this is really important to understand because it's different than the strategies we've used in the past. So I want to introduce you to the model that I'm using, and I call it Heart Smart AI because it's got the heart piece, it's human-centered, it's essence-based, it's structured around real relationship, real alignment, but it has the side for AI too. And it's got the structure and the semantic stuff, all the things that AI needs to know to be able to recommend and refer you. And I like to think of it as a tree. And the reason I think about it as a tree is because Honestly, it mirrors what we're building as a heart-centered entrepreneur, honestly mirrors biology. It mirrors what's happening in the world. And you'll see that in a minute. And there's four basic parts that I think are really important. The first is soul. And it doesn't matter whether you're a heart-centered entrepreneur or you're building a brand, because the brand has a soul too, right? But the soul is the essence. It is a combination of the characteristics that make up. Let's just talk about Michelle. It's going to be her gifts, her genius, her lived experience, all of her skills and knowledge and everything all together. That kind of makes up who she is. There's nobody else like her. And one of the really powerful things about soul is it gives us what's called provenance, because AI wants to know, where is this stuff coming from? What's the authority? Who's standing behind it? You know, I could go on today and I could create 20 prompts or 20 articles about fruit flies, and so could Michelle. And chances are our articles would be very similar, because it's going to pull the information that's out in the world, that in its knowledge base, in its training databases, and it's going to be like, oh yeah, let's talk about fruit flies and all the aspects of fruit flies. But if Michelle is a fruit fly expert, and she has had experiments with fruit flies, and she has done work around the value of fruit flies, she brings something new that's not in the knowledge graph. And that's provenance, but it's the combination of her authentic authority combined with what's out in the knowledge graph already. And we're taking those things together. So that's kind of the soul. Now, if you're talking about a brand, you know, brands have to be able to connect to humans. So the brands actually build their essence as well, just a little bit differently than us as humans. So both apply, right? And then how do we take that heart, that soul, that brand, and transfer that into a clear signal that both humans and AI can understand? And what does a signal mean? So a signal is not content. Content is a kind of a signal, but you can have content without having signal. You can post about lots of different things and throw them out there and have content. But a signal is a clear message, a clear category, defined topical authority. It's something that when somebody sees your page or reads your message, that they can kind of get the idea of what you do, who you are, how you help, all those things in one chunk, right? They're not having to guess. So our goal here is to take our soul that we extract and our gifts and genius and all the things, and turn that into a signal that not only connects with our ideal clients and that is legible for AI and humans, but is something that can be received in the marketplace. Because honestly, guys, we all know if your signal isn't something that the market is looking for, chances are your tree is going to be lonely, right? It's going to be, it may be a wonderful tree, but if it's not aligned, then it's probably going to not get a lot of traffic. It's going to be the one on the edge of the forest, right? Maybe it's the Charlie Brown tree. That's not what we're trying to build here, right? It's not the goal. And then once we have signal, we can build structure around it. And the structure takes the form of, you know, the dense content, the authority pieces, the things that are aligned and actually flesh out your tree, right? So if you have a skinny little branch and you put one piece of content on it, it's going to look like a branch with a twig on it. We're not looking to do that. We're looking to make a dense, rich way that AI and humans can both know that we are authoritative, that we've got some real meat behind what we're doing. So looking at these things, right? Soul, your essence, your clarity, building your signal, we change it into structure. And then from the structure, we can build the systems on top of that that allow us to scale. And a lot of times what's happening in the world right now, especially for heart-centered entrepreneurs, is they get told, pick a niche and just build some stuff, right? So they try to scale without having the foundation that makes it all work. So this is not what we're trying to do. So your essence, this becomes the roots of your tree. This is your foundational piece. It's the thing that makes you unique, but it's also the thing that anchors you in, right? Your essence is going to connect to who you're probably going to serve, how you're going to serve. And if you're smart and you're following the process where you're aligning it with the marketplace, those roots are all going to connect with those things, right? That makes sense, right? And then from that, we're building our signal. The signal's the trunk of our tree. It is the thing that connects our roots to the other stuff we do, but it's also the structure that supports everything. So if your signal, if your trunk isn't aligned with your roots or your branches, your tree's going to not probably grow well, right? We know that. Your branches, these are the topics. These are the places where you have the expertise or you solve the problem. This is the core of where your content needs to be focused in this AI era so that you actually show up as an authority topically. We're looking for these branches to be rich and dense, not like little spindly twigs, right? And then your leaves are the content that's on top of it. So if you're building this properly, you end up with a tree that is ready to attract people, that gives them a way to learn about you, build, know, like, and trust, but it also gives AI an opportunity to really understand who you are, how you serve, what you do, and why you should be the answer instead of somebody else. So in reality, our business, instead of being some sort of machine, I like to think of it as a garden, right? It's part of an ecosystem, and we're looking for that tree to fit into the ecosystem where our ideal clients live, the place where AI can see us and understand us and help us grow better, right? So that's kind of what we're talking about. So I'm going to stop here for a minute, and then anyone have any questions about any of the stuff? Do we have anything popping up, Michelle?
Nope, nothing.
Okay. All right. So what are we talking about? We're talking about transitioning from attention to architecture, from screaming into the void to building a connected tree, a sovereign tree in a connected forest. And now's the time to become inevitable. And what does that look like for us? Inevitable for us right now looks like, how do we build something that we get more back from it than we put into it, right? Every one of us has had experiences with different platforms. You know, I post something on Facebook, I put it in there, I put all the effort in there, and 5 hours later, it's gone, it's disappeared. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, how do we build stuff that compounds, stuff that stays, that's permanent, becomes something that people can go back to. And the way you do that is in your own sovereign area, right? On rented platforms, you're not going to have that same experience because you don't control the platform. Tomorrow, Facebook could be gone. Somebody could hijack your account. You know, we all saw not that long ago that, you know, ransomware could take over. When you're on somebody else's platform, you're always at that mercy of what's happening in that platform or the algorithm or what's interacting with it, right? So part of the process of becoming inevitable is we have to think about where we build and how we build. And we want it to at least somewhere be public, because if it's not public, AI is not seeing it, you won't be the answer for sure. And there are a lot of platforms that are great for attention. You know, a lot of people flocking now to YouTube and Substack. Those platforms are great, but not all of them are visible to AI completely. Parts of it might be. YouTube's a better example. That's a high authority engine for AI. It can see it. It helps you get visible. LinkedIn's another one. Reddit's another one. Things that we wouldn't have imagined in the past are the authority vehicles. But the best place that you can be is your own content, your own blog, your own website, your own places where you can actually have your content stay and not disappear into the void. So that is something that, everyone needs to be thinking about now. You can't just assume that because you're putting content on a social channel that your visibility is growing. It might not be. It might actually be going the opposite direction, right? So what if a place existed where your meaningful conversations could increase your visibility, and articles and events and things that you put out there as value and content reinforce and increase your signal and trust, right? What if your profile becomes more permanent infrastructure and your visibility can compound without you having to do more work, right? This is what we're moving towards. And I want to share with you tonight a really exciting opportunity that we're building. Michelle's part of this founding thing. We're creating a new way to think about business, and we're creating a new way to work together in a publicly visible, in a space where the efforts of the group compound the individual, where success can circulate, right? And we're calling that the heart-centered hive. And what that is a group of sovereign authority trees. Your tree is sovereign. You're your own thing. I'm my own thing. Michelle's her own thing. But we're joining together to be able to share out and collectively interact and work together, boost each other up in a way that it's a win-win-win. That when I put something in, or Michelle puts something in, or somebody else puts something in, it raises the whole community. And at the same time, that visibility of the community raises your visibility and the trust that's coming to your sovereign tree. And there's pieces out there that exist in the world, but we're putting together, honestly, the first group of this that combines 5 key pieces that we think are where the market is moving, where AI is going to, and how it feels better to work in a more nervous system friendly, in a regenerative space, instead of just putting stuff out into the void all alone, hoping something happens, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
yeah, and I want to introduce you to what that can look like, and we're getting ready. We've kind of been building this for a while, but we're getting ready to officially launch it. And so if you're seeing this, if you're connecting with us now, you're actually on the founding level of what we're doing. And hopefully, if it's something that resonates with you, we're going to want to invite you to join it. So that's what we're talking about now. And so we're calling it the Heart-Centered Hive. And it's a collaborative and federated group or ecosystem of individual businesses, individual conscious consumers. We're not just about B2B. We are about B2C. We're on the ground floor right now where we're bringing in businesses that want to share their purpose, want to share what they're doing, but do it in a way that doesn't feel salesy and just hustle mentality, that you can build something substantial that lasts and that compounds over time instead of disappearing into the void. So that is the goal of what we're doing. And the key to that is making sure things are connected. And so there's different aspects to the hive. I like to think of it as like we have a forest of individual trees and we're all connected. In the forest, the trees are connected by a mycelium network, right? And it kind of looks like this underground connection piece where trees support each other. If a tree is struggling, the forest knows and it supports that tree, right? We're building that for businesses. That's what it looks like. And so success can circulate there. It's not about competitive. It's not about hustle. It's about collaborative. It's about building something that grows with you, that continues to give you stuff back, even when you're not necessarily doing all the things, right? So for me, I like to think about it, if I post and Michelle posts and somebody else posts, we're raising the whole signal for the whole system every time someone contributes into any part of the system. And by raising that signal and that authority of the whole system, it gives all of us more authority in return. And so that is really valuable. But more than that, it gives us a way to really talk about our businesses or the things that we're looking for, the partners we might need, how we're doing things, what wins we're having. It gives us a place to share them very authentically versus a pitch fest. A lot of groups now have turned into pitch fests, and
Very true.
most of the people that are contributing, right? They're all contributing because they're selling their thing. And what if it doesn't have to look like that? What if you can genuinely talk about the work you do without feeling like you have to sell? Because serving is selling in so many ways. That's what we're trying to build. Much more nervous system friendly, really, really providing both a stage and a community kind of in one. And so that's kind of a unique structure with the pieces that we're adding. And so I think of it like the best way to explain what we're building is Disneyland, right? When you go to Disneyland, you have the Magic Kingdom and you have Epcot and you have the animal place and all the things. And our hive is like that. And we're just getting it off the ground. So some pieces are live and some are getting ready to go live on the first part of June. So you're coming at a perfect point. And the whole point of the whole thing is that success circulates. When I win, everybody wins. When I post, you win. When you interact with me, I win. It's sharing wins, sharing collaboration, sharing wisdom, all the things, right? And so I just want to briefly kind of talk about the pieces of it because it's a lot and it doesn't exist out there right now. There's nothing out there that exists that's doing all of these parts together. We're creating this and it's kind of the ground floor piece. The hive has 5 key parts to it. The first part is called the Heart Centered Directory. We've been building a directory for the last year or so, specifically designed for purpose-driven businesses, heart-centered entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and impact organizations, right? Someplace where they aren't just listing their name, address, and phone number, but they actually get to talk about their mission and who they serve and why they're doing what they're doing. And why that's important, if you remember the branches, right? Those things are external authority, but it also is building your branches. It's building out who you are, how you serve. It's giving your signal. It's giving you external validation on your signal. So the directory becomes what we're going to call a hive hub. It's kind of the Rolodex. It's also the place that connects a lot of the parts together. And it's a place where you can have a listing that stays visible publicly. It's not algorithm driven in that the algorithm determines whether your listing gets seen or not. It's publicly. You have a URL that is you, and you're part of a semantically dense cluster. So you actually get the benefit of not just SEO, but also AI optimized visibility. So it's a really powerful thing. And I guess the best way to describe the directory is like Facebook met Angie's List, met Alignable, met Reddit.
Oh, yes.
It's all the pieces. There's a little echo in it. No. So this is really a core part. And then, for real connection, real relationships, real conversations and collaborations, we have what's called the Hive Collab. And we've deliberately created the Hive Collab as a private school group because that is the one place in the network that's not publicly visible, but it's really meant for real relationships and human interaction. And it's also a doorway, right? Because we want as many people as possible to discover what we're doing. And if it feels aligned for them to join us, because then the entire group gets raised up in the process. So the school group is literally specifically designed for people to connect, meet, collaborate, share what they're doing without it being pitchy. And we give you several opportunities every week to really talk about your business and what you're working on and what you're thinking about and what you might need feedback on. It's a different way to think about how you can share your business. And so that is a really valuable piece. In the directory, there are events, and depending on where you are, and there's 3 tiers to the directory, and we'll go into them another time, but you can actually host your events on the directory. And also, the Hive itself is hosting events like networking things and collaborative things. But Michelle could host her summit there and actually have the advantage of having the stage and other people's audiences. You all have heard that probably in your travels. Why are people speaking? They're speaking because they want to leverage the power of other people's stages and their own stages to get their message out to a wider audience. We're building that inside of here, right? So, and the Hive events, we call it Hive Live, is one of the things that does that. And then launching in June is our Hive TV. We're going to have a YouTube channel where Hive collaborators can actually syndicate their stuff onto the collective Hive channel. So if you've ever thought about, I want to do a podcast, but I don't really want to do a podcast every week. Maybe once a month you're sharing out what would be your podcast on there. You're still sharing it in your sovereign space, but this now amplifies the power of it and gives a place. And one of the things that we're going to do with the Hive TV is we want to feature purpose-driven businesses, people that are making an impact. We want to feature them and we want to share the work they're doing in the world, because that is ultimately a big part of the mission of the Hive, is to help people get their work out into the world. And that can be challenging, as we all know. So that is one of our missions. And then the last piece is Hive Social. And so the Hive itself will have social channels. We've got one on Facebook now. We're getting ready to start LinkedIn. They may grow as we go about, but basically that's another venue that your content and what's happening and what you're talking about can get shared out and cross-pollinated into other realms. So all of these things working together, we're teaching how do you connect the pieces so that you can build real authority that lasts, and do it in a way that doesn't suck your soul in the process, doesn't have to be done in a hustle way. So that is what we're building. Michelle, maybe you want to share a little bit about what you're thinking about it. Like, I know I'm really excited to not be in hustle mode.
I'm excited because I don't want to be in hustle mode or burnout, and I've never seen anything like this before. This is amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be more fun because, one of the things that we know about where the AI era is going is people, because of the noise, because of the trust deficit, they want to have real human interaction. And
They
so
do.
you might have seen a lot of talk about ecosystems and communities and things like that. There's a reason for that, because people are being driven to that mode. But this is a place where we're operating with a different mentality, right? We're not just creating a group that's passively designed. We're teaching you how to use the power of this to actually raise your own authority and visibility in the world with AI and humans both, and to really be able to step up and lead. But also, if you're not there, it has an opportunity for you to join at whatever level you're at and be participating at whatever level. So joining the Hive is free. Your directory listing is free. We're giving people a directory listing that has more features than most paid directory listings, and it's free because we're building this together and we're building something that is really meaningful, and we want as many people to be part of it as possible. So if this sounds like something you're excited about, I welcome any questions when Michelle posts this video. If you have any questions, if you're catching the replay, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Michelle. We're going to be doing some challenges to teach people actually how to really leverage the power of what we're building. But
Yes.
more than anything, we think you're going to find this to be different and
Mhm.
hopefully more joyful, more refreshing, more like, oh, that's
Yes,
what I
you could take
wanted.
that deep breath.
Yeah, I mean, like that is the goal. It is designed to be nervous system friendly and
Mhm.
regenerative and connected. Really connected with real relationships. So, we're inviting all of you. The Hive is kind of launched right now. We're going to officially launch very soon, probably between now and the 1st of June. I don't have an exact date yet, but if you want to be notified and be part of this and get in there early, this is how you can join. Or you can also reach out to either one of us and we'll connect you as well. But this is a pre launch link. You can give us your name and email, and we will keep you in the loop and tell you how to set up your directory listing, how to join the collab group, how to take advantage of the events that we're getting ready. A lot of the events are going to start launching next week. So it's a perfect time if this is something that feels like the thing you've been searching for. We hope it is. And yeah, that's where we're at.
And we can't wait to see you on the inside.
Yep, for sure. And this is something that you can share with whoever you think feels
Yes.
aligned. So if you're feeling like this is a thing for you, feel free to share it with somebody because this it is about that. And ultimately, we all know that I might be selling something or teaching something or creating some sort of impact, and Michelle might as well. And there are people we know that are going to be perfect candidates for what each other does. And the way that you can really expand that is to get to know each other. And that is really a big piece of what we're doing here. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions about AI visibility or how you can start building your structure, that is the work I do personally, and I'm happy to share the programs and things that I do with you. But I really want to encourage you all to like participate and jump into the Hive, and let's see what's possible, what we can build together.
Yes. Thank you. That was amazing.
I don't think we have